sunshine. I realize I am in sunshine. The skies are turning blue. Would you like to go to the top of sunshine?
Hello, welcome to another video of Accept Truth with Joy. In this video, I want to talk a little bit about an article that came out in 2016 in the New Era, and it's entitled, "What Does the Church Believe About Evolution?" So this is from the October issue in the New Era, and it's really kind of an interesting article. It has 2 paragraphs to it. There's no author, and I've tried to ask a few people for who they might know who the author was, and I haven't been able to find out who that was. So what I'd like to do is talk a little bit about this, and I want to remind just kind of a quote from Dr. Henry Eyring. He said, "There are few ways in which good people do more harm to those who take them seriously than to defend the gospel with arguments that won't hold water. Many of the difficulties would be avoided if parents and teachers were more careful to distinguish between what they know to be true and what they think may be true." And this article, "What Does the Church Believe About Evolution?" proposes to educate the youth, apparently, because it was in the New Era, about the position of the church concerning evolution and the origin of man. It is interesting that the first paragraph essentially states that the church has no official position on the theory of evolution, and that nothing has been revealed concerning evolution. The position seems to align with the statement that was given back in 1910 by the First Presidency, where they said, "Our religion is not hostile to real science. That which is demonstrated we accept with joy." The obvious inference seems to be that we are free to pursue our knowledge of this subject from scientific inquiry and study. However, it gets a little more interesting in the second paragraph. The second paragraph seems to ignore the advice from the first paragraph of not taking a position, in that it pronounces knowledge that is in conflict with our current understanding of human evolution. Or perhaps it's in conflict. We'll talk about this in just a little bit. But specifically, it tries to insinuate that all human beings are descendants from one pair of humans, namely Adam and Eve, and that there was no human death before Adam and Eve. The danger is that our youth and young single adults are learning about that the overwhelming evidence from science concludes that all life shares common ancestry, and that evolution is the best explanation of the diversity of life on the planet. Furthermore, the evidence and scientific consensus supports the conclusion that the physical bodies of humans evolved at least 200,000 years ago. Some of the more recent evidence that's coming out is that it goes even back further than that. The idea is not just taught in our public institutions, but it's taught, for example, at Brigham Young University, the church-owned university, as well as the other church-owned institutions. It was even featured in a recent article highlighting the new human evolution display at the BYU Bean Museum of Natural History, and the displays that are now or soon to be in the Life Science Building on BYU campus. When we propose ideas in official publications like the New Era, even though that's the youth magazine, when we propose ideas in these publications that are addressable by science, but then are contradictory to the well-accepted established scientific consensus, in my view, it is as if we are setting up our youth to have to make a decision between one or the other. And I just don't think that's a good road to go down, as Dr. Henry Eyring also proposed. So let's look at this article for a little bit more context. First, the article states, "The church has no official position on the theory of evolution." This one sentence perhaps could have been the entire article. It is not necessary for the church to have official positions on every scientific theory. For example, I know of no official position of the scientific theory of gravity or relativity by the church. Yet clearly we believe that Christ ascended and descended, and that God can answer prayers instantaneously. But these claims of the movement of Christ's body and the speed of prayer are outside the realm of addressable questions in science. Science accepts that the supernatural is not testable. Thus, this is a positive direction, I think, that the article started with. Then the article says, "Organic evolution, or changes to species, inherited traits over time, is a matter for scientific study." The theory of evolution is a matter of scientific study. It is unclear if this statement supports the idea that species can evolve into other species over time. In other words, kind of the macroevolution part of evolution, or if one species' traits simply can change over time, kind of that microevolution, the verb part of evolution. If the latter was the intention, this view essentially confines the process to just within a species, but that species never evolves into another species. I may be overreading that part, but there are too many that want to allow for a microevolutionary process and not the macroevolutionary process to occur. From my standpoint, I don't think it is wise to align ourselves with these anti-science movements like fundamental creationism, young earth creationism, or intelligent design creationism. Next, nothing has been revealed concerning evolution. The statement nothing is kind of interesting because it makes me ask the question, are there no specific revelations about this? And maybe that's true, but it seems like there's been a lot of statements in the past concerning evolution. Whether they're official or not, we've talked about in other places, but clearly people have talked about this, so I'm not sure what that sentence means. The next sentence talks about the details of what happened on Earth before Adam and Eve, including how their bodies were created, have not been revealed. This gets a little interesting here, because if there's no official position on evolution, then why does the article now try to go in and then assign some official interpretation of how Adam and Eve and their bodies fit into this story? So this article now seems to start to contradict itself a little bit. Then it says, before we were born on Earth, we were spirit children of heavenly parents with bodies in their image. This has nothing to do with science. It's a claim of faith. It's outside the realm of science. Fine. The next one is God directed the creation of Adam and Eve and placed their spirits in their bodies. I don't know what's meant by directed in this, and it's not clear whether this refers to just spiritual bodies or physical bodies or what. So I would say there's no specific claim here that science could address, so no big worry here. The next one is, we are all descendants of Adam and Eve, our first parents, who were created in God's image. This one's a little bit more tricky because what does it mean by first parents? I'm not sure. Does it mean that Adam and Eve were among that first group of individuals that evolved as Homo sapiens? Or does it mean that Adam and Eve are literally the two people that all Homo sapiens come from? I'm not sure. All I do know is that science does say things about the evolution of Homo sapiens, and we know that about 200,000 years ago they evolved. So I'm not quite sure how to read this one. It may start to step into that part where they said there is no official position, there is no revelation about this, and then this statement seems to kind of cross that line. The next sentence is, there were no spirit children of Heavenly Father on the earth before Adam and Eve were created. This one's interesting. First of all, science doesn't say anything about spirit children, so science has nothing to say here. However, I think it is interesting to just think, if Adam and Eve, if someone wants to claim that Adam and Eve were only 6,000 or 7,000 years old, less than 10,000 years old, well, clearly there were other Homo sapiens on the planet. So does that mean that that person has to then accept that all of those other Homo sapiens didn't have spiritual children of Heavenly Father and Heavenly Mother inside them? And if not, then what was inside of them? What spiritual being was inside of them? As you can see, this gets pretty dicey pretty quickly. So I'm not sure how to deal with that one either. The next sentence is, in addition, for a time they lived alone in a paradisical setting where there was neither human death nor future family. Now, again, this supernatural Garden of Eden, science can't say anything about that. But if this statement concerning human death is referring to all humans, not those that are in the garden, not just Adam and Eve, then that is addressable with science, because we have really good evidence and lots of fossils that show that humans have been around and have been dying for the last 200,000 years. So that one's kind of problematic. The next sentence is, they fell from that state, and this fall was as an essential part of Heavenly Father's plan for us to become like Him. Again, this fall and the plan of Heavenly Father is outside the realm of science. It was a singular event in the past. We can't replicate it. But I love how the article ends, actually, where it ends with this beautiful idea that we are to become like our heavenly parents. It seems to me that all essential steps to become like Heavenly Father and Heavenly Mother do not rely on a rejection of human evolution creating the physical bodies of Homo sapiens, including Adam and Eve and all of us. It is more important that we focus on our relationship with God and with others, and that we make and keep covenants than probably worrying about these details. So that's my take on this article.
Sunshine with me. The doors are open, the skies are too. Sunshine is coming in for me and you. Sunshine.